Hey everybody, good to be back on a Wednesday. It's the last week. It's the last, from here on in is the last 7 days of April. Restarting the week after a little bit of a day off yesterday, which was so key. I got so much done yesterday. It was incredible. I can't wait to roll a lot of it out. I can't wait to show it all off. But that'll be in the future. Anyway, after a very productive day off, we are back over here to go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, get it done. Tonight is going to be good because it's been a couple of years. Actually, a lot more than a couple of years. No. It's been a couple of years since we did the Glitch in the Matrix show. I like doing those every once in a while. The last time we did it was maybe about 2 years ago. Things that you just can't explain. You know, the old double take with the black cat. But we have one of those on tap for this evening, and I have invited an old friend. Now, this is a guy who I haven't spoken to in a live stream setting. Maybe, I don't know, it could have been pre-COVID, something like that. It's crazy how still we can reference that year. We're talking about half a decade now. It's nuts. But Methods is on with us tonight. He has come along for the ride. I think this might be the first time that Methods has actually ever been on the show. I've been on live streams with him that he has co-hosted and everything. And of course, we've just been friends. We got a lot of mutual friends. And I can't wait to have him on tonight because he's out. He's about. He's doing a live stream of his own these days, just kind of taking a break from the news and just getting into a little bit more of the sweeter things in life, which I love doing. So I figure I bring him on, do a little bit of reminiscing, and then we will, after we assess the world and the way it is today, we can jump headfirst into real-life small world stories. But I'm talking about small world stories, some of which defy nearly impossible odds. And we have a lot of, I've got some classic ones that we have over here tonight. I've got a lot of things that have been submitted to the show, and also some transplant stories that have been kicking around the internet as well that just up for discussion. So that's what we got going on tonight, and I hope you guys all enjoy it and all that stuff. I have one other thing. We have a couple of really key bookings. I'm actually starting to put things on the calendar as far out as July and August now. As you all know, Eric Hunley from America's Untold Stories is coming on the show tomorrow night. That'll be great. All of these things and more you can find on the guest calendar that's on quitefrankly.tv. On May 1st, Darren Monahan. He was a former corrections officer at San Quentin in charge of guarding high-profile criminals like Charles Manson. That'll be an interesting one on May 1st. These are some new bookings. Aristophanes' Revenge is going to be coming back again. We haven't spoken to him, I feel like, in a year or two. That'll be on May 13th. I was talking to him the other day. That'll be a good one. On May 19th, the first time ever, we are going to be able to talk with Richard Gage, formerly of Architects and Engineers of 9/11 Truth. And so that'll be great. We can start from the foundation with Richard Gage on May 19th. And then if he happens to be in the New York tri-state area anytime around September, then hell, can you imagine? We can get him in studio for a little bit. Not off the table. Not off the table at all. Also, as far as Culture Club updates go, I just want to remind you that the Film Club gathering in May of 2025, next month, that's going to be open for everybody. So I'd like to invite you guys and gals to be part of the Film Club. That'll be on May 19th, the third Monday in May. It'll be the day before I go on me, Lauren, and Aurora go on our little wedding anniversary extended weekend that goes right into Memorial Day weekend. So I'm essentially off most of that week. But the 19th, we're going to have our show with Richard Gage, and then we're going to talk about The Prestige. So from now until the 19th, you guys watch The Prestige 1 or 2 or 3 times and write down all the awesome things that you caught about it and stuff like that. I will be publishing the official thread on the forum soon, and I hope that you all show up. Be a little bit harder to miss since it'll be public, but seriously, become a active member in the Culture Club. Read, damn it. Read. Watch film with us. Let's do it. Do it. Those of you who do, you know the value. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you so much. We will be right back with Methods and more.
I am black. I am gay. I am disabled.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
All right, everybody, welcome back. Hello, hello. Good to have you here. Good job. Good job. Good form. If you want to contribute thoughts to tonight's show, opinions, shout outs, whatever the hell it is, jokes, send them to quitefranklysuperchat.com. There's also the Rumble Rants, the Gold Pills, and on YouTube, I made a goal tonight. So if we hit the goal on YouTube Super Chats, I will actually go and do an extra Friday morning Q&A coffee stream. You know, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, but it's just me in the chat room with those. No formats, just Q&A. So that'll be the celebration tonight if the goal is reached. We will see what happens there. Okay, well, hey, what was your day like so far? What was yours like? Did you watch? I was watching a little bit of the Pope's funeral. Well, that's going to be, he's laying in state for like 3 days or something like that, and then there's more that will come down the pike. But I was watching Pope Francis's funeral, or the wake, and the whole thing just fascinates me. It really does, especially when you're observing something going on in that ancient city, that ancient history at St. Peter's, the way that transitions like this have been covered over the years, especially with modern media. And now you have this ancient square filled with people, a 2,000-year-old timeline, and now there are drones all over the place covering it from angles that you never could do, even from a shaky standpoint with helicopters back in the day. That's not needed anymore. So it's just crazy how these things are covered now. It's just a strange mix of ancient and high tech with, there's always something supernatural about it. We're talking about situations of the soul and where a person is now after their empty husk is lying there in state. It's just strange. And then again, is the husk actually Francis? For those of you out there who think he might have been gone a long time ago. I know Vigano reminded everybody of that. Archbishop Vigano reminded everybody of that some people believe that he had been deceased for some time already. There's a little bit more on the Klaus Schwab transition, even though the guy that is supposedly filling his shoes is, he was the guy from Nestle that was talking about water. And I remember when we were talking about this guy, he has a strange eye. So it's an interesting combination of Bond villain, because in Quantum of Solace they talk a lot about how water, primary sources of water, is actually going to be the new oil. That's in James Bond Quantum of Solace. But he also has like a Lashif eye, that kind of weeps blood a little bit. It's got a weird, strange eye. So that whole thing, I was like, oh shit. So you talk about phases and moving from one phase to the other. And then we get these articles about how supposedly there is a WEF whistleblowers or internal whistleblowers that are talking about him embezzling and harassing people and all that. It's like people turned on Klaus. So maybe we can look into that a little bit more down the line. There's a little bit more drama here than just an 87-year-old rotting oyster face of a man that is just moving on to other things. We're being told that he's being pushed out. Of course, he had many vibrant years ahead of him. So we'll take a look at that. The other thing about the funeral today reminded me of my friend Pam, my late friend Pam. And when Francis was elected in 2013, I was at Pam's house the very day, that afternoon. It was in March of 2013. We had just gone for a walk or something like that. We were talking something, having coffee, and her husband, Pete, was in the other room laying down on the couch watching TV as he normally was, either watching stocks or something else. But in this case, he was watching the news out of Vatican City, because there was the white smoke. The white smoke went up, and Francis was about to be announced, about to make an appearance for the first time. And Pete said, "Hey, the new Pope is coming out." Like he's like a groundhog or something like that. Go look, the new Pope is coming out. And Pam, in her perfectly timed little way, goes, "Oh, Frankie, go see who the Pope is. I have to go get the clothes out of the dryer." And I still think about that line, how it's just perfect. Just the way she delivered things was perfect. "Frankie, go see who the Pope is. I have to go get the clothes out of the dryer." And now they're both gone, both Pam and Francis. So it's up to you guys and gals at home now to pass on this tradition wherever you are. Whenever the white smoke goes up the chimney this time, somebody has to say, "You go see who the Pope is. I have to go get the clothes out of the dryer." That's what you got to do now, in memory of Pam. And yeah, here's a little something before we bring on our friend Methods. A little something that brings the passing, the death of the Pope, and a little bit of mockery of the corporate media into one fabulous article. And here it is. It's from the Babylon Bee. Headline: CNN, "Behind closed doors, the Pope is still focused, sharp, and energetic." They would go that far. CNN journalists on the ground at the Vatican are reporting that behind closed doors, Pope Francis remains focused, sharp, and brimming with energy, because that is just exactly that's what you would expect out of them at this point. You would expect them out. Though videos circulating online have purportedly shown Pope Francis to be dead and lying in state at St. Peter's Basilica, CNN stated that these videos were deep fakes and part of a right-wing misinformation campaign. Here's a quote, and then we'll get to from Caitlin Collins. "Claims of the Pope being dead are completely ridiculous. Francis has so much energy, we can barely keep up with him," said Caitlin Collins. Oh boy, well we've gotten used to that over the years, haven't we, Methods? Methods?
That we have. That's unmuting. I'm here, brother. Yes, that we have. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, dude. Listen, I just want to welcome you to the show. It's been a long time since we've spoken in an official broadcast capacity, and everybody, we have an old friend with us here tonight from the pre-purge days on YouTube, and now he hosts a show called Words and Stuff, right, Methods?
Yeah, it was a very professional title. I needed a catch-all to kind of catch everything that we do. But yeah, man, that life feels like a lifetime ago, but I find myself reminiscing often. I hold that time special in my heart.
Yeah, me too. Do you remember? I don't know if you ever picked up on this, but back in the day, when X22 Dave would cite your work on his show, he never understood how to actually properly read M3 methods, the three doubling as the E. Did you ever catch him calling you M3thods?
Yeah, I do, and people remind me just about yearly that happened, which is great.
God.
But no, I remember the first time it happened, my Twitter started to pop off. I started getting follows. Like somebody must have covered a tweet that I did, and I had a DM from a friend that said, "Hey, you were covered on X22 Report, LOL."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And so I go to, and he gives me the timestamp. He goes, "Let me know what you think." And then I see my tweet. You know, I'm new to the game. That's exciting. You get to see coverage happen. And he goes, the M to Madness account, M3thods, with the tweet, and my head just dropped. And then I go back to that tweet, and there's just laughing emojis from my friend. And then it's just stuck with me. But that's actually evolved, Frank, into, did you know that X22 Dave is actually my dad?
He's your dad?
That's a new rumor.
Oh, really?
That's what I've been told.
Listen,
yeah, shout out to my father, Dave, out
you
there.
Spend enough time covering this stuff and getting into the weeds and theorizing about one thing or another, and eventually you find yourself becoming a pretty substantial part of somebody else's theory. And I'll tell you something, Methods. The day that you find yourself pop up into somebody else's deep dive theory, and of course you're the only one maybe at first can say, wow, that's absolute horseshit. And it's a sobering moment, because until it happens to you, I think you're a lot more willing to entertain every theory on the internet. And then suddenly you realize, when you've been pulled into something, like when you've been made into the son of Dave from the X-22 report, suddenly you're like, oh man, what other bullshit have I believed without thinking in the past?
Man, you ain't lying. On top of that, I like to let people do their thing. I try not to step on people's toes when it comes to decoding, especially when people just enjoy the exercise. But yeah, when I had people decoding my own timestamps, when it was like I just got out of bed, there's no time on when I'm tweeting these things, but they were tying them into like graphics and all these things. I was like, maybe I get some things wrong too, and that just kind of happens in life. So yeah, it's just anything I've just learned over the years that Occam's razor is your best friend.
Yeah, let me ask you this. From 2016 to 2019, because everything got shaken up in 2020, the way that people did their shows. Censorship clampdowns were the worst, and it only got worse from there on in. I would wonder, when you think about that 4-year period from 2016 to 2019, what were like do you have any favorite memories that just popped into your mind first and foremost, even if it's just a feeling or a routine you were in at that time? I wonder about that, because you were a big player in a lot of it.
Well, Methods didn't come around to around 2018, give or take, like a few months into that. I was on the boards following things like Q-Post and all that slightly before. So to me, I was watching the Trump, him running for election as an exciting thing to watch. I thought like a bull in a china shop type thing with all the debates. And so when he actually got in, I was like, oh, interesting. Like he actually won. They let him in or whatever. And then seeing how it played out, it kind of just felt this drive to get involved. So I would say my excitement was finally deciding to get over to this thing called Twitter to try to help relay information from the boards, because some people don't need to be seeing the stuff that gets posted over there. So we were relaying things over and watching the excitement of people finding each other of like-minded interest, an excitement to feel like they can make change, have their voices heard, share information, learning how to meme, asking what the word keck means, Pepe the Frog. Like there was so much exciting time around then because it was new. And we all had a driving force of get the information, but also let's make a change. Let's make a difference. Let's fight the media. We know they've been lying. Now they're caught red-handed. And so I would probably say that 2018 leading into beginning of 2019 was probably it's definitely up there as my favorite time.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I often refer to those years, those pre-purge years. It's almost like a book of Genesis, that span of time now, because there was a new earth forming. And you can make Pangea analogies if you want, where so much incredible stuff could be found on one or two platforms at that point. And there was a lot of different people operating on YouTube, and then suddenly it got broken apart into different continents, and then archipelagos. There's just island chains of smaller and customized websites that people started going on just out of necessity, and it's just crazy. And then all these years later, we're seeing so much more, a little background into the pressure that was applied in order to splinter and suppress competition in streaming media. Like all of the stuff that we saw from that, it's being declassified with Biden's strategic implementation plan for domestic terrorism. I don't know if you've seen any of that stuff. Our friend Wendy Mahoney just wrote something for the American Thinker today, and it's just insane. It's stuff that we were living through, but I'll tell you, getting this cold validation for whatever we were experiencing censorship-wise and everything else, it doesn't make me feel any better for seeing it, and it really doesn't.
I'm glad that you bring that up. And by the way, side note, that Pangea reference is perfect. I hadn't even thought about that as a new world that then started to have to drift apart for whatever reason with the fracturing, especially with the bloodbath that happened on YouTube. Because people might not remember, when the censorship happened on YouTube, it was rapid fire succession. Like I would get a DM every hour from a friend that lost their account. And then we all tried to figure out our way, hence the Foxhole and the Pilled happen. But I'm with you, man. I think there is a lot of I told you so that we could be living in right now, and that validation. But it's a bittersweet thing that we were right, that we were targeted. I mean, we were told, I don't know if you had gotten private messages, but we were told by some people that were allegedly connected to Twitter that they were passing lists around and they were censoring people, and the day was coming to where they were going to rapid fire take everybody down. And they told us about a year ahead of time. And we're like, okay, that makes sense. We can't sink our teeth into it, but it makes sense that they would have a list. Next thing you know, they went down almost alphabetically, taking us down real quick. So I like having the validation that we were in the right, but the fact that we got this far to where faceless people like myself need to get on the internet to correct the record when the media should have already been keeping things in check the whole time, speaks a lot for where we are right now.
Yeah, it does. It does, but it's a strange new world, and we're finding our way through it, and we haven't been extinguished. In fact, there is a molten core in this thing now that I think is going to press on. But there's plenty of strange enemies behind the gates, subtle, all that stuff. But like I said before, I think that we are in a little bit more of a clearing, and it's nice to just take a account of who's still out there and where the hell they're at. It's like the morning after the Titanic went down, and they're just is anybody alive out there? After some of those purges, it was like that October 2020 purge right before the election was nuts. Of course, that was around the same time that we are now seeing the FBI actually telling social media networks and social media platforms like Twitter, don't cover the Hunter Biden thing. So it's just a lot of history that we can go over the course of 5 years. But I don't want to weigh it too much. I don't want it to weigh us down too much because we have some strange Matrix-like things to do tonight. Are you in the mood for something kooky, my friend Methods?
I mean, that's up my alley. I'm into it. And just as a side caveat on what you're talking about, man, I think that we needed to go through this time. I'm not justifying what's happened to people over the past handful of years, but I've seen a lot of people find resolve, kind of a forged by fire thing. We kind of know the enemy very well. I think we've learned body language and how they tick and what they mean, and we can speak the language of what they're speaking because we know what they're lying about. So put this way, I think history is going to make us grateful that we went through this trial by fire because of the warriors that have been made in the process.
Oh, yeah. And, before we move on altogether, what are you feeling right now? After the first 3 months of Trump 2.0, there are, I like the approach to some things. There are other head-scratching things, head-shaking things. There's always going to be that mix. But where are you right now? Net positive, net negative, neutral? Where are you at?
Well, I'm with you on that. I think it's still too early to tell. I think some people have to remember that it's not an instant gratification thing. It's not like they snap a finger, we hit the third act of the movie, and then all the consequences happen. So I like the path that we're going. There are some things that I do question as well. But the net positive I think is here is I think this is our time right now to get our houses in order, personally. Let's get our minds focused right. If Trump's going to bring in some tax relief and things are going to get better, what would you have done during the first term? If knowing that Biden was going to happen and things were going to get worse, like what can you do? Homesteading, prepping, doing those kind of things, developing relationships, getting closer to God. That's something that I've been, ever since I've come back, I'm unapologetic about that. I might not be the best Christian, but like getting yourself closer to God right now makes the most sense because we've seen evil and what it wants to do in real time. And so I think getting our houses in order is the most important. It's the whole putting the oxygen mask on first and then take care of your neighbor.
Yeah. And how are you health wise? Because I remember you taking several breaks just because you just weren't feeling well, or maybe things were stressing you out. That was all stuff you put out there publicly. So I figure I ask.
Yeah, no, and I don't mind. I don't mind you asking. It's one of those things where you'll tell everybody else to not burn the candle at both ends, but then you do it yourself because there's a lot of people that need your light. And so I had to step away and learn a lot from that, and I really had to get rid of the blinders. So as far as health stuff goes, I learned from it. A few years ago, I kind of had a little bit of a heart scare, but that kind of just anxiety and depression, that kind of stuff runs in the family. So blood pressure's a thing too. But for me now, I'm great. It's been a few-year journey. I've kind of been out the loop. A lot of people are still surprised that I'm back, but at the end of the day, I'm so grateful at where I am now because of what I've learned along the way, being friends with you, being friends with the other host, meeting people in the chats, the tweets, like people being good to each other. It's like, what have we stepped back individually and asked ourselves, what have we learned about these people that God put in our lives along the way? And so me being able to step back, I mean, you have a job to do. I mean, you're covering things 5 days a week. You're prepping shows. If any of you watch a show, he's working 2 or 3 times longer on the show outside of that to bring the show to you. So to me, I had the opportunity to step away, and it really helped me put things into focus and see what really matters to me in life, man. And I couldn't be happier, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, I'll be honest with you too. If Jeff Bezos says, "Hey Frank, I want to put you on the next Blue Origin and send you to the moon for a few months," I might take it. I might take it at this point. As long as I can bring my family with me, all right, fine. Let's just go. Then we'll figure out if I hit the roof of the dome. If I hit the dome, everybody's gonna know. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. If I go up there, if you send somebody like me up there in Blue Origin on a little bit of a vacation to decompress, I won't lie. I'll tell you if the world is flat. I'm not gonna lie. Just that's what I'm thinking right now. So
that's why you're not invited up there, Frank.
That's
you're
why.
Speak too much truth.
It's too much. It's just too much. Okay, so listen, I got small world stories for you tonight. From cute coincidence to impossible odds. But before we get to that, I have this one video that's getting around. It's coming out of Australia. Apparently, these two twin sisters, a set of twins were involved in, there was a carjacking incident out there in Australia, and their mother went to go check on a car crash that, a crashed car that actually had the carjacker still inside of it. And it turned into a tense situation, even though she was looking to do something nice. Now, the thing that stole the show is not that there was just this high intensity situation with a carjacker who was armed and dangerous and people who were trying to help, but also found themselves now in the same kind of danger by crossing paths with him. It was the way that the situation was retold by these twins. Take a look at this. And I just want to talk about this for a little bit because it's so fascinating.
Here's some of what they had to say.
And one guy, he was up there with our mum, and he went up there, and he was coming back down.
Wait a second. Where the why is this out of... I'm sorry. This is so screwed up right now. This is messed up. You're not even seeing them talk right now, and it's low and the dubbing is off. This is ridiculous. Hold on, I gotta find this. Have you seen this yet, Methods?
I have not at all. I mean, I can pick up on the audio and what's happening, but yeah, that video is interesting.
No. No, you must see this.
And we heard this big...
Okay, take a listen to this. I found it on YouTube. Okay, these Australian twins, they're talking about what just happened with their mother. Can you see that on screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, take a look at this. This is what they cut to.
And we heard this big bang. We said, oh no, another car accident. We don't know why, but we have tried to talk separately, but we're not ourselves. It's not us.
Two Australian sisters capturing...
Oh, God, of course. We have to listen to their commentary. This sucks. Anyway, if you can hear, they're speaking completely in unison. It's not scripted. They haven't had any time to really to practice this. It caught everybody off guard because they are. I mean, this is crazy. Here's another here. I hope that this is a good, complete clip that you can take a listen to.
Well, we were in cleaning our birds, and we heard this big bang. We said, oh no, another car accident. So we drop everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there. And then other cars were pulling up and checking to see if the person was okay. And one guy, he was up there with our mum, and he went up there and he was coming back down towards us, and he goes, run, he's got a gun. And our heart started to pound, and I said, oh, Mum.
So listen, their heart started to pound, and here's the thing I got for you, Methods, because I know you talk a lot about the uncanny and the strange these days and things that are a lot more human interest end of things. Well, What do you think about this? Because when I take a look and I look into, you have something astonishing that's going on here. I had a few friends who were almost impossible to talk to because they stare at your lips the whole time and they attempt to finish every sentence that they can. You know somebody that does this in your life? Have you ever had somebody that did that?
Yeah, we had a lady, bless her heart. If you're in the South, you know what I mean. She was in my dad's church, and she would always distract me because she was trying to finish my dad's sentences while he was preaching. She was just over. It's like she was trying, like she couldn't help it. But that, to me, that was telling me that she was really paying attention to what he was saying, to the point that she was trying to become a part of it, I guess, in her head. But yeah, that's strange, man.
No. Yeah, and I understand that. I don't really think that anybody who does that out of habit is necessarily a bad person or trying to ruin what you're saying. I think that it's an ill-advised way of showing how on the same page you are with things and you want to be involved in the conversation, but it's a distracting thing to do. It actually kills the conversation. I
totally agree with you there. Yeah, it really does kill the conversation. Now with those two, on the other hand,
yes.
I am a couple different things. One, that tells me that they have been around each other more than anybody else in their life because they are that comfortable around each other. And it's not even like they're finishing each other's sentences as much as they are each other's sentence. At the very least, they are like a hype man in a rap video. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you get that fine in tune with somebody, and especially if you aren't affected by outside forces that much, you could maybe become that way. Because, you know, we've made friends when we were younger that we had the same mannerisms, the same jokes, the same way we acted and all that. But that kind of thing, man, that's definitely a Matrix cat glitching out.
There's a radio uplink there, man. There's something. There's something psychic about it. Obviously, you spend enough time with a person, even though, you know, you're talking about twins. They've been spending time with each other since they were in the womb. But I mean, you can get that in sync with anybody. There's something else here, though. There's something in the genetics. There's a radio uplink, and because it's not just waiting for social cues for the other person, they were on each other with the storytelling. It was nuts, and I understand that. I mean, that's a big red flag. Everybody gets attracted to stories like that. But here's something a little bit more digestible in bits, and we have really cool things to throw into the thing tonight. I put out a thread, been done before, especially on this show. We did, glitch in the Matrix shows in the past, but we wanted to know, talk about cute coincidences to impossible odds. What are small world stories that can just go right and shatter your belief that this is anything more than a Matrix, where some things could just go crazy. Now, the first one I have up here, and just start commenting on whatever you got for me, my buddy. Sarah says, mine was when I went to Lebanon to literally half a day, okay, and saw my friend in a KFC. And we had no prior knowledge that we were going to both be in Lebanon. So I have somebody in my family that had run into a local out there in Italy somewhere. I wonder if you have anything in your life that has materialize in this way. We have a lot of them to go through tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go to the short ones. I have longer ones, but we could save that for another time. I would say, one, I took a booking agent gig before Methods and all that stuff in Salt Lake City, Utah for about 6 months, helping them out with some managing concert logistics. And we get there, and there's a band that gets booked on the bill. I wasn't the one making the decisions. And so we get there, and I'm like, oh, I get to see this band. They're from my home state. That's really, really cool. And they get on stage, and they have a new guitarist, and I don't recognize. I'm like, huh? Where'd the other guy go? And then we're sitting there talking after the fact, because I'm talking to my friends in the band, and we looked at each other, and he goes, wait. And then he named my local band I was in like 5 years ago. And I was like, wait. And then I named the band he was in. And we found each other in Salt Lake City out of nowhere. And we were friends years ago, but because our bands broke up, we stopped going to concerts together. So I found him literally like a couple thousand miles away.
That's crazy. That's incredible. We'll listen to this one. This is from, it almost has a similar, not really. It's not even music related, but still, Utah Mama Papa Grizz submitted this story. I worked at a grocery store. I went to Norway for a month to visit family. I ran into a customer from the store I worked in America at a grocery store I shopped in Norway. And And there are so many instances like this. Makes you think that the world is actually the size of a small little neighborhood, an overpacked neighborhood at that. But more. Here you go. In Venice. Oh no, this was something else. Highwayman says, I literally bumped into a guy who grew up 3 miles from me in Texas while we were standing in line for dinner in Balad, Iraq. He knew my dad and older brother, but we did not know each other. That's a big, but there's so much more. Here's another one from Christian. I was unofficially named, these are all audience members, by the way. I was unofficially named after my mom's first love, who died in Vietnam. I was born in 1979. Fast forward to 2003, I'm working in surgery, and a nurse I had just met said I reminded her of her cousin and best friend forever, who died in Vietnam, and we shared names, and it was his cousin.
Wow.
Yeah, the first love's cousin.
That's something special right there.
Something special. Something I had to start doing the math again. I was like, is it possible that Christian is actually the first love's child? And then I said, no, it doesn't make. But I mean,
plot twist though. Could be.
There's so many plot twists out there. Here's another one. My mom and dad had met each other in Ireland, and then again in New York City. I always thought that was cool. Hopefully after New York, probably after New York City is when you have to get hitched so that you don't have to keep doing that all over again. I mean, the universe throws you together that many times. Why are you resisting at that point? Am I right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's what kind of happened with me and my wife. Like we were both in relationships at the time when we met each other. We met through them, so there was no like interest there. We thought we were cool friends or whatever. Mine broke up on its own. Hers broke up on her own, and then we just kind of started running into each other at places. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to try again, even though I had been divorced. I didn't know if it was going to be a thing, and so I had pitched it to her, and she actually was one of those I'll have to think about it moments, that gut check. And then she's like, all right, let's try it. And now it's been 12 going on 13 years.
Wow. I'll have to think about, that reminds me of just middle school situations. You slip the note to somebody, you like me? Yes, no, maybe. If you got a maybe back, that's actually almost as good as a yes. But there's, depending on who it is, if you got a no, okay, I think I'm just getting screwed with. And then it's just a waiting game. What happens? Or do you see them walking around with somebody else at the Corpus Christi Carnival in August, and then it's all over? If they're actually walking hand in hand with somebody else at the carnival in August, then you know that the no is for real. But let's get back to something else. Listen to this. My first ever crush, this is from Clara Page. He was a guy named John in 3rd grade. I moved schools. I never saw him after that. Then on my first day of college, in my very first class, in walks John. After a minute, he realized he was in the wrong classroom and left. And here's the here's the conclusion. I haven't seen him since. I thought that was going to be one of those John Cusack, Molly Ringwald kind of a endings. Nope. Haven't seen him since. He left the classroom and that was the end of it. So sometimes
that reads like a Craigslist misconnections.
I know. I think about those too. Misconnections. If you were on the L train today, if you were on the F train at 1:17 p.m., I made eyes with you. Please get back to me. I think we've done shows in the past. I've done at least one show in the past of, just a glance, meeting somebody, locking eyes with somebody, falling in love instantly, and then never seeing each other again. And I forget what kind of calls we got that night, but I know it was a classic. I have to go look for that one again. That might have been at least 6 years ago at this point. But yeah, what do you think about love at first sight? Methods, have you given that any thought? Has it happened to you?
Oh, well, speaking of that middle school thing, like that's actually that was my first marriage, and I've only been married twice for anybody that's keeping score out there. But we met in elementary school, and then got moved away from each other towards the end of middle school. And then cut to, I was about 18, 19, 20 years old, something like that. And I end up back in that state. We haven't talked ever since. And I have a roommate that is throwing a party for his birthday. Long story short, they're inviting people. It's became a whole thing outside of me. And there walks in the door my elementary school sweetheart. into
Wow.
my house. Hadn't seen her that long, and then it felt like that romantic thing, that movie thing you're talking about, and the cut to a marriage that obviously did not work out. But hey, it's a fun story to tell.
It is. It is. And I don't know why. I feel like there's got to be something for me too. And I'm not remembering it. There's got to be something, because it feels like a lot of this stuff is just like dictated by magnetism at some point. And I'm interested to see what kind of calls we get later on in the show. But here's another one for you from Carl Davis. It says, I had a nightmare about a particular house that I'd never seen before. The house had a ton of rooms and was kind of a maze. Oh, that sounds like a dream I've had. In the dream, I was running from something. Cut to weeks later, I saw the same exact house on TikTok. I freaked out and closed my phone. 2 days after that, my wife showed me the video and explained the dream she had about the house. My stomach sank and I told her that I had the same dream. I had saw that video days ago. She said, did you read the comments? I did not, so she showed me the comments. Hundreds of people had the dream about the same house in the same video, and it made me feel very anxious and a little sick. Till this day, I had no idea what or why, but it was definitely a weird moment in my life. When it comes to dream experiences, methods, I don't know what you got on that or what you've covered in the past, what you've contemplated, but I know that last year at some point or the year before, there was a man's face that was floating around the internet, mostly on boards like, GLP and 4chan and everything else, about a guy who was appearing in people's dreams. And I was wondering, I was talking to a few friends of mine off air about it, and I said, what do you think this is? Do you think this is an op to actually get people to dream about this guy, or do you think that this face is appearing naturally in people's minds? And a lot of them across the board felt that it was actually a little bit of both. Do you remember that story about the man's face?
I can't remember the guy's face, and I obviously didn't dream it, but I do remember that being talked about.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things, shared dreams. I mean, you'll get a lot of people talking about situations like this, but they're usually attached to ayahuasca experiences where people are sharing, common ground on a lot of the things that they're hallucinating with, and even separated groups that are not there to influence what the other person is seeing. They're all seeing the same types of animals, same types of messages coming through, whether it's real or not, who knows? But the dream world is one that I never hesitate to go and investigate whenever a mystery like this pops up. And man, this post from Carl Davis, that hooked me for sure.
Oh yeah, no. Well, we have a family story that I watched play out in real time at a Christmas get together, and it was my dad and his brother and sister sitting there talking, and weird dreams came up or whatever. It was after opening presents, and one of them brought up a dream that they kept having when they were younger about they were driving down an interstate and they were going to the town over, but it was a loop-de-loop kind of like Hot Wheels spin interstate to get over there, right? And they was saying that, and then my aunt and uncle chimed in, or the others one chimed in and said, wait, and they started describing it. They had the same dream growing up in the same house and didn't talk about it. It just never happened. And they were explaining what happened in the dream, and my dad and uncle made it through the loop into the next town, but my aunt didn't make it. And they were like, I don't wonder what that means. Well, I don't know either, but my aunt is the one that is the youngest, and she's the one that's not alive right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a family dream that we all kind of went quiet. We're like, wait, that happened?
And she's the only one that didn't make it.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
And then there was another story. My grandmother was having dreams about my uncle, my dad's brother, about him for some reason being on a train and he shouldn't go on the train, whatever it was. And my uncle was a missionary, and he was over somewhere, and my grandmother just called and said, "Hey, you don't get on this train, whatever it is." And she's freaking out, and he's like, "All right, fine," or whatever. And he ended up deciding not to take the train, and the train ended up derailing.
Well, there is a story within my family about my grandfather, my father's father, when he was serving in North Africa in World War II, about the same thing. My great grandfather came to him in a dream and he told my grandfather, Frank, to wake up right as the bombs started dropping around him again. Something to that degree. I actually have the whole thing written down somewhere. Either way, he had a pretty much like I wouldn't say a prophetic kind of a dream there, but there was an appearance inside the dream that woke him, stirred him, and at that point, not too long after that dream, within the same day, maybe within the same hour, he was delivered a telegram from home that my great grandfather had died. And it's one of those things where can't ever really figure out to what degree the dream world creates a passageway for there to be some kind of intelligence that is gained or shared. I will never just broad stroke the whole thing as a dark, devious, evil kind of a thing. There's something very inherently natural about the whole thing, but almost like gleeking. You know, when sometimes you have like a stream of spit that just like sprays out from underneath your tongue. You know that?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
One of the reasons why I'm not on camera. Yep.
Yeah. Well, most people, that just happens to them accidentally. You don't know what the hell happens. I think that is really a good way of explaining what the dream world and what these things that have come to us, these, actionable intelligence or something that is actually foreshadowing and a glimpse into the future of something that has happened or something that involves a future event or people that are coming or going in your life. I really do believe that there is something rich there, and most of us just are never educated as to what the tool is that could be used and how to use it safely. So when it comes to dreams, that has to be a part of it.
No, I agree with you, and also it's something that, even if you go back to biblical times, dream interpretations was a thing. If you go to the Bible, it even talks about, in the end times, people will see visions and dreams. And I believe that, I agree with you that evil or whatever, nefarious, it's not a broad stroke, but I've seen that happen too. I have also fought evil in my dreams, not as a superhero, but I felt like an actual demonic attack happened in my dreams before. So I believe that is the case, but in turn, I do believe God also will use dreams and visions and all of that as well to warn us. It's just us as humans, we're trying to decode what we saw, and then we start doubting and trying to figure out, well, it could be this, it could be that, or I watched this movie with a similar plot, so that must be the case. But when it comes down to it, man, like if it's trying to give you a message, at least listen to it. Yes. At least chew on it.
Yeah, I know. Write it down. Do something. I actually had some really great advice that was sent to me recently by a member of the audience who, what they say is a trained remote viewer about how to collect pieces from your dreams and how to start assembling them over a longer period of time. That it is really like a 5,000 piece puzzle, depending on what the bigger picture is that you're being that is materializing over the course of those nights. But maybe we can get into that some other time. Katie Mack says, my friend went to Japan and deadass found a shirt from his high school in Virginia at a thrift store. Can you imagine that? Talk about what are the odds. That's a little bit less spooky, but still kind of amazing, no?
Yeah, we had a band T-shirt that ended up in a different state once, and we were a local band. We're talking like there's no business. Like we didn't even sell out of those shirts. And I went to a concert in another state, and they were wearing it, and they didn't even know where they got it, so they didn't even know I was in the band. Didn't even know anything. About
that was a Salvation Army job, dude.
Oh yeah,
that was 100%. Definitely Salvation. You know what it was? You know what happened to me recently? I was walking around. I forgot where the hell I was. Lauren and I went out. We had to go shopping for something. It was a couple of weekends ago, and I saw nothing screamed Salvation Army like what I just saw. There was this short, portly, illegal immigrant walking around. Didn't speak a lick of English, but she had a 2 sizes too small shirt on, a wine slut shirt. Okay, there's a brand out there. I don't know what the hell it is because wine. It's such a I don't know, white wine mom kind of a thing to wear. I have no clue, but I just know that okay. Well, she took that off the heap at the Salvation Army somewhere, doesn't know what the hell it is, and why the hell would she be wearing it? It doesn't fit her, and does she know she's wearing the word slut on her shirt? I don't know, but that's probably goes to explain at least how somebody can wear a band shirt somewhere else. But I used to love collecting local band shirts. There's something about it that was endearing. I liked it a lot. It's very limited edition. You can't say that you're conforming. You're picking up things along the way, and there you have it.
Well, that conforming is a good word for it, because I grew up in the underground hardcore, like not necessarily straight edge, but like that like era of go to the concert, support the local bands. And when those bands started ending up in Hot Topic, you would be shamed publicly at the concerts if you were wearing the Hot Topic version, because that meant that you've never been to a concert. You just bought it at the mall to look cool. So we hold high reverence around where I grew up on band T-shirts and supporting local.
Yes, good one. All right, here we go. Lisa Gray says, my father graduated high school from a small town, Nome, Alaska, as one of 4 in 1948. He traversed the world throughout the 1950s while working with Worldwide Helicopter Services. In 1955, he was stationed in Egypt, and incredibly, one day he had a chance encounter with a fellow graduate in Cairo. What were the odds of that back then? Oh, well, I would say that they're pretty low back then.
Even now.
Yeah.
When are we ever like, gonna go to Cairo, feeling cute?
I don't know. These days, there's a lot of, there's probably a lot of amateur archaeology is getting bigger and bigger these days. You want to talk about amateur sleuthing? We're talking about that whole Pangea discussion earlier on in the show about new media and how it all, we start seeing these parallel economies for entertainment and news and everything else. Man, it is incredible to see the competition that is popping up everywhere, and archaeology is one of them. You have some really like title bouts right now, and what's on the line when you have mainstream archaeology versus the internet and people with a passion that are just out there and willing to attempt to shift the paradigm. I mean, we're talking about concepts that could alter the way that we see human civilization and human history from the get-go. So those are some very interesting fights and efforts that are rising from the sands of every desert right now, including Cairo.
Well, I mean, I get it as far as trying to be that one that finds that thing, because then you're pretty much made, I guess, in those circles. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. We've talked a lot on Words and stuff about oversaturation of basically any industry, and I did not have archaeology on my bucket list as one that would be oversaturated with people making a gold rush for it. No pun intended. Man, that's crazy.
It is, and it's one of those things where once you have more avenues for people to apply some kind of online social media moxie to a hobby or a personal interest, you get what we have right now, and there is a lot of white noise. There are people doing exceptional work, no doubt, and I'm sure that as time goes on, you're going to see more and more people in new generations cut through the noise and establish themselves as well. But you're right. I mean, it got to the point where just the other day, I saw another viral TikTok has like over 3 million views, however many likes and shares and all that stuff. And it's these young kids who are, I guess, just discovered the whole story about the Denver airport and the Lucifer horse out front, and they didn't talk about any of the underground city blocks and shit like that. But I look at that, and some people go, "Wow, okay, old news," but no, it's not old news for everybody. And what we're in a position now where you have these new generation of storytellers, and then there's just thousands of other layers of recyclers and people who just take people who are telling old stories for newer audiences, and they're just the people who react to them. That shit I can't take. The people who sit in front of other people's videos and point, they do the like, well, listen to this next thing. I can't stand that shit, and that's 90% of TikTok.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a TikTok, because I like to not have brain rot too much. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that we are oversaturated, and I think what's happening now, and I'd like to hear your 2 cents on it. I think that people are really focusing on finding the genuine because of the oversaturation. It's like, how can I find the human side of people? Because there's so much, like and subscribe and follow me and support, and then you have a name for what your audience is, and that's fine and dandy and all, but like getting back to actual human connection instead of this being a droning on of content and things. And I agree with you also on the new eyes on things, being excited about information that we've known about forever. It's like, I remember my first conspiracy theory when you're talking about things like the Denver airport, but that's their journey. But I guess finding your niche and finding what works for you at where your journey is at is, I think, where we're at right now. I think we're in a pendulum shift. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. I feel like we're swinging back in a different way, that people are recalibrating how they go about taking in content, how much time they spend on it. Like when I heard that we spend more time on average on technology than we do sleeping, I was like, that's kind of a problem.
Oh yeah. Yes. Well, then again, I don't know if that is the metric that I would go to really show how bad the problem is, because I mean, we naturally spend a lot more time awake than we are sleeping, and it's really what we're doing with that, a little bit of that time. And what are you doing online? Is it the nature of your work? That's the other thing there too. It's
right. Yeah, I'll give you that. I don't mean to cut you off, but just so like on the caveat of what you're saying there, it's like, I guess it depends on what you're doing. And I think that's really comes down to developing your own discipline on how much you're taking in and the balance of what you're taking in. If you're doom porning all day scrolling, no wonder you're in a bad mood. No wonder you're panicking. No wonder you're waiting for something to go wrong. You're looking for the boogeyman under every rock when it's just a rock at times. But if you aren't balancing it out with other things too, whatever it is, and also like even not being on technology as much, like that's what I'm saying, like whatever works for you as the individual. But if you're not focusing on how much you're taking in and out stuff, then don't be surprised how you turn out and what you might have to unravel in your own deprogramming, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It does. The doom scrolling is, there's a lot to be said about that. And we have that just, there's a lot of the dopamine aspect of it all. And especially, I think that has come up on this show recently when we have covered a few education-based topics, because there is, a lot of, I think that's right. There was testimony from one teacher that was talking about how severe the crisis of attention and everything else is inside of the room. Now, you put a bunch of middle school kids together, there's always going to be ants in their pants, and they're with other, they're going to want to socialize. There's always behavior problems with kids that are growing up throughout middle school and into high school. You're dealing with hormones and everything else, but it's something else. And it goes beyond just younger generations too. You take a little bit of a look around the dinner table, and that covers maybe 3 or 4 generations, and perhaps great grandma is not doing it as much, but grandma and grandpa definitely are. Everybody is picking through their phones, and it's a little disconcerting. It is. And I'm actually going to start collecting phones for certain things, especially when it comes to having people in studio for broadcasts here, because there's nothing worse than having somebody on air with you that then has to be blotted out from the broadcast, so people are not seeing them with their fucking nose in the phone. So I get what you're saying there, and oversaturation is a huge thing, but what are we going to do? I guess time will tell. There's a little bit more here. I would love to do this before we get to some super chats. Let's see. Okay, here's one more for you from Quite Frankly Producer. This is Krista. Not really a big deal. When you travel more, you realize how common this is. Heavily populated cities and tourist traps are more likely for you to run into someone that you might know. There are crazier coincidences in that other thread. Well, we have crazier coincidences here. Here's one for you. Let's see. One more that I want to get to some super chats. I sold a dress. No, that's not the one I was looking for. Here it is. Vacationing in Switzerland, I asked some random guy to take a photo of me and my girlfriends. He agreed. He held up the camera and then paused and said, Abby? Turns out he and my friend went to kindergarten together and were childhood friends who hadn't seen each other in 18 years. That's a little bit more. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. Like, I was watching this video. If I can find it, I'll send it over to you because I know you're doing this as a segment. There was a YouTuber couple that has met people, have followed their journey, they got married or whatever the case is, and they found out that they are in a video of them as kids. Like, it was a home video by one of the parents that was filming at a local park or an event at a school, and in the background is future wifey of Dude Buddy on the video, but he's like 10. And they had no idea at that moment that they were going to be married, spending their lives together 10, 20 years later.
I love that. I think Lauren and I spoke about that in the past there too. I said, I would love to find you just, bouncing around somewhere in the background on an old VHS, and you grow up. In Lauren's case, we grew up less than 2 miles away from each other, and it took until we were 19 and 20 to cross paths at the pharmacy that I was working at the time. And it was just, I don't know. That's awesome. I love stories like that. Really something special. All right, let me see. Jay Britz says, watched Red Pill 78 since probably a year before he showed himself on camera. I'm pretty sure I saw the first time that Methods came on Zach's show. Zach is also the one that introduced me to Quite Frankly. It feels like old friends. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Methods. If there's anything that I can look back at between 2017, 18, 19, around there, a Red Pill 78 Saturday night stream on YouTube was one of those things that you can always pencil in, and they were pretty well attended, and again, just something that you can't expect to find now.
I agree with that. Once again, I guess it's one of those things that people have new experiences now. People are new. You don't necessarily know, but you hear about those times. It was something very special. Like, yeah, we had the show hosts doing what they were doing, and it was important. We're covering the news, Q poster dropping, Trump saying things that are great. But the camaraderie that was occurring, the relationships that were happening back then reminded me that because I used to be black-pilled on people. Frank, before all this, I just assumed that good people could never really connect in such a way universally that we can make such a change. Therefore, just hold on to the life that you got, do the best you can. But those times really let me know that something special can happen from all walks of life when we don't even know our names. Now, when Red Pill showed his face, I have to find the screenshot. Did you see that clip of when that actually happened?
What do you mean? Was it an accident, or was it the first time he did it on purpose?
Like opening a dumpster and there's a trash panda in there that didn't know that you were going to show up. Full panic, accidentally showing himself on screen.
Oh shit! No, I never.
Amazing moment. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to him, because then he moved on and he actually blew up, because like there's something about seeing people on screen that people connect with more. And on top of that, he's great. But yeah, it was fun. Like all those moments, like him and Muffingate when his dogs fought by his ankles.
I got that. I've got Muffin. Right. I've got Muffingate and I've got Coffeegate over here too. It's fantastic. But you see, I remember going on Red Pill's show early on, and so I knew what he looked like before anybody else did, because I had been on the show, and I'm in the Zoom or whatever the hell it wasn't Zoom back then, it was something else, and I saw Zach and I said, okay, well now I know what Red Pill looks like, but I didn't see the slip up. I saw Dave X22 Dave his slip up. I was actually afraid. I was afraid to look at Dave's face. There was something, for some reason, I just I was really afraid. And when I saw Dave's face for the first time, because he never even revealed himself to me. I had been on his show maybe a small handful of times or something like that, and still there was no reveal even in those private stream recording sessions. So when he slipped up and revealed himself on whatever show he was on, I was almost afraid to look. And then I saw his face.
You cringe with them. You cringe for them on that. I'll have to find that clip for you, even though if Zach's listening to this,
please.
He's screaming about it.
Oh my gosh.
But I will say one of my favorite clips is your D-Live email. And that's why I still have it saved.
Oh, I know.
It's my favorite clip. I would say top 5. It's up there with Muffingate of that entire moment, because I to me it was just absolutely brilliant how that played out.
Okay. It's crazy. I was part of what I was able to do yesterday and taking my day off was not only get through a whole bunch of administrative things and production things. I had maybe 2 or 3 business calls to be on, but then I had a nice area of time where I can sit down at my computer at home and organize the shit out of it. Everything, media, cleaning things up. I feel so good right now. And one of the things I found was that clip. I watched that clip yesterday of the D-Live email that was so, I can't believe I forgot it. And so what happened? Oh man, I don't even have it. I don't have it over here.
Did you forget about it when I tweeted it out randomly several months back?
I don't remember even tweeting it out.
Oh, I did. I tweeted it out and people were laughing because they didn't know what happened.
Oh, for everybody, here's the liner notes of it all. Matt had sent me where the hell are some of those the Matt files? Let's see here.
I literally have the 720p if you want me to DM it to you on Twitter.
You have it?
If you want it. Yeah, I have it.
Send it to me. We might as well. I want to do that. And while you do that, I'm going to go through some super chats. The first one, we did Jay Brits. Thank you. We have Rumble Rants. We'll get to you in a little bit. Thank you, Jay Brits, over on YouTube. Thank you for sending that super chat there. On quitefrankly.tv, powered by Pilled, Tomcat NJ, Wix Vixen, Okie7, Sean Joe, Chatty, KC says, agreed, in God we trust. Paulie9363, Smeeze17 says, this is a very cool night. Here's some shades. Thank you, sir. And also, thank you, Sean Joe. Now, I have a couple of voicemails here on the topic. I have 4 voicemails on the topic that we can play. I also have something else. Did you send it to me yet, Methods?
It is in or out as we speak.
All right, hold on. I can't wait to see this. This is ridiculous.
It's my favorite. You, outside of you and the gif of you dancing with the cat.
Let's see.
Those are my favorites.
All right. 4-3. Where the hell is it? Sent a video. All right, here we go. Wait, I can't download this video. And I can put it into. Can I download? No, I can't download it. Do you have the?
I'll put it in the Discord if you want.
Yeah, sure. Put it in Discord and I'll take it out just so people can watch. Oh yeah, somebody in the Discord actually put the face of the guy who has been appearing in people's dreams. Oh, of course, it was AK. AK wants everybody to have weird dreams tonight. That's in the Discord right now, and I'll wait for Methods to get this over. In the meantime, let's go to a voicemail. This one is from, Quite Frankly, producer and editor-in-chief of the Quite Frankly Bulletin, Krista. Take a listen to this.
Krista from the production team. So I have 3 stories. The first time I ever went to Europe, I went to Manchester, England. And as I was walking down the street, I noticed that there was a mural painted on one of the walls in the city. And what was on that wall? A painting of my city, Pittsburgh. Very, very strange. There was nothing else painted anywhere else. It was just a painting of my city's skyline the first time I visited another city in another country in Europe. The second little story I have is when I did Ancestry.com. Despite having a microscopic tiny family, I can count how many cousins I have on one hand. I discovered that I have a cousin living here in Pittsburgh whose name is also Krista, and she was born around the same time as me. Very bizarre. The third story is I have a doppelganger. I was at a cheerleading competition in high school, looked up, saw a girl who looked identical to me, which was jarring because I have kind of unique features. I've never really seen anyone that had looked like me before. So being 18 years old and seeing somebody who looked like you was strange. Well, cut to a year later, and it turns out that this girl ended up being my best friend from high school's roommate in college. And she ended up coming to my house for a New Year's Eve party, and it was just very odd.
I want to see a picture of the two of them together. As far as doppelgangers go, just last week we were talking about Cabbage Patch Kids and like 19th century cloning theories, and some people had suggested that perhaps this is where this doppelganger phenomenon actually comes from, that perhaps somewhere along the line we ourselves could be facsimiles of an original of some sort of an original source or something like that. But that's interesting. First of all, the first story about finding a random, I mean, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is not random. It's all American, no doubt about it. But to find Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania skyline on a wall in the UK that is very, very odd, no doubt about it.
There'd have to be something there to where like Pittsburgh did something, like maybe somebody from that country came and did something for a local sports ball team or something. Like I can't think of a connection like why you would do that, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty cool. All right, let's go to another one. This one is from Robert Johnson. Here we go.
Hi, Frank. This is the first time I've called in. I've been listening to your show for a very long time, and I think it's great. My name is Robert Johnson, and I guess I have to give a little explanation before I tell the story about how phone calling used to work back in the day. For the younger listeners who might not know, but goes back to 2005. And back then, before cell phones became ubiquitous, you had to dial 1 before you dialed the rest of the phone number if you're making a long-distance call, which really doesn't exist anymore, that concept. If you didn't dial 1, that meant you're making a local call, just to tell the phone computers which way you're going with it. So that, with that said, my sister saw her phone ring and picked it up, and this guy was the wrong phone number. Well, my sister, being my sister, strikes up a conversation with him, and she looks at her caller ID and she says, "Are you calling from Delnor Hospital?" I said, "Yes." In Geneva, Illinois. And he said, "I'm calling for my wife. I just had brain surgery yesterday and I'm kind of out of it, but I wanted to talk to her." So my sister says,
"You got to be kidding me. That cuts off?" Oh no. Oh, come on. Anyway, so I don't know how that one ended.
Fill in your own adventure in the chat.
I know. Where do you want that story to have gone? Here's one from Katie in Texas.
Hey, Frank. Hey, everyone. I am calling in regard to the running into people from your hometown while visiting another country topic. And I was on a cruise with my ex-husband my husband at the time. We were married. We were on a cruise, and one of our stops was Cozumel, and we took an excursion to Isla Pasión, and that is where the Spuds McKinsey commercials used to be filmed. So it was like this tropical paradise, and we were hanging out with this other couple that we just met, on the.
Oh, come on. I don't know what's going on right here, though. I listened to this before because it was the first one that came in, and now the audio is gone. So shit. Well, either way, there's two more there. Okay, let's go and do a little something else. How about this? Have you ever heard of this story from the girl's name is Laura Buckton? Have you ever heard this story, Methods?
I not off the top of my head.
Okay, then let's do this story because I want to talk about this, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you got coming up. And I'd love to have you back on again. But this is awesome, my friend. Let's keep going here. Take a look at this. This is a 2-minute long video. This will constitute as a break for us, but take in this story. And then tell me how the hell this is actually possible.
When 10-year-old Laura Buckton of Staffordshire, England, whimsically set free a balloon and watched it sail away, she had no idea she was about to transform her life forever. Because miles and miles away, against the most unimaginable odds, this solitary, lofty balloon would set in motion a chain of events so strange it's even difficult for those involved to believe. The story all began one windy afternoon after Laura and her grandfather tried a little experiment.
He told me to write my name and address on a label and stick it to the balloon and then let the balloon go and see what happens. My granddad said that I might find a pen pal.
But Laura would find much more than a pen pal. Somehow the balloon had sailed across the skies of England for 7 days and 400 miles before touching down in this little girl's backyard. And believe it or not, her name was also Laura Buckton.
So you see where this is going now. Now this right here, methods. This story was sent to me by Krista, my producer as well, and this, I mean, it was a cornerstone of what this whole tonight's episode was really built on. Because it's one thing to say, hey, you know, I bumped into somebody from my hometown on the other side of the country or in a marketplace in Italy somewhere, but it's something else. This is almost like a message in the bottle situation. But instead of just having a message in a bottle picked up on a distant shore and then getting a response from somebody however many years later, you have a message in a bottle sent out, and the person who gets back to you is somebody who has your name and more. Take a look at how similar these two people are. The Laura Buckton story.
What's this? Incredibly, besides having the same name, this Laura Buckton was also 10 years old. But that was only the beginning of the mysterious similarities.
The tag said, please write to Laura Buckton. And I thought that was really weird because it's the same name as me.
Once the unbelievable findings set in, Laura number 2 wrote to Laura number 1. The letter contained Laura number 2's phone number. But just who was this other Laura Buckton? Laura number 1 had to investigate immediately. She called. Within minutes, the two Lauras had bonded over the phone. Today, brought together by Ripley's, the girls have much more in common than they realized. This back-to-back shot of the girls shows that they're the same height and the same build, and they have the same eye color. Remarkably, they also both have 3-year-old black Labradors. But that's not all. They also each have a pet rabbit and a guinea pig. And if that's not enough, the two are also avid swimmers. Peculiar similarities that aren't lost on their parents, who, incidentally, were both married the same year.
I think the girls are quite similar.
But otherwise, they're not related. And how do you explain something like that? You can't even say, wow, play those numbers. That's so far beyond lottery odds. It's incredible. So what do you think, Methods?
Man, I was waiting for them to say that they were related, and I felt like the dad had some questions to answer. Man, I don't know. I firmly believe I will always lean towards like a spiritual thing, like their connection, like connecting people in a way that makes this world so small and connects us all. And maybe those two girls needed it. We don't know what their life was then. Maybe they didn't have friends and they were reaching out, hence sending out a balloon and then answering said balloon. But if anything, that just lets us know that there are miracles in life that happen. And sometimes we just have to accept them for what they are, because I can't explain it. I mean, that's the wind. That's all that going on, them having the same names, time of day, the whole nine, for them to even see that. Yeah, man, there's something more going on there.
It is.
Definitely run some lottery numbers.
I know, but how do you play a lottery on that? What do you do? That's just, you're talking about what is, that's something that people will dream about. I don't know if my mother has a strange dream and there is a combination of 4 or 5 numbers that pops up, she'll go and she'll get Powerball numbers or something like that. But when it comes to this, it's just that, I mean, what is numbers in one setting is just a completely, I don't know, it's like a carbon copied human life. It's nuts. So I don't know.
Do you think that somebody is living a similar Frank life right now? Host of a show.
Boy, I hope not.
Thing, mother, a wife, a child, all of that. Do you think there's somebody out there living that life?
I don't know. I mean, it gets back to the doppelganger thing, but is the doppelganger is supposed to be the evil version of you, I think, right? But so let's just think about just a I don't know, a copy. I don't think so. I don't think so. If you're out there, I mean, I would hope that somebody would find, if that person was out there that was living my life and they looked like me and they were doing what I do, first of all, this is probably the line of work that if you had a doppelganger, you're more likely to find that other person than any other line of work. Like if you were a plumber or a local contractor or something like that, I can see how you can live like 5 square miles away from somebody who has the same exact life as you, and you'll never see them, as if you were on the other side of the galaxy. But I don't know. I feel like if I had one, I'm in a line of work that if they're doing exactly the same things, I'd have a better chance at finding them, because they would constantly be searching and putting content out there, and you know, something would cross my path eventually, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an interesting thought, because how many lives can we actually live? Obviously, it's unique, all our journeys, right? You had a kid, could have been a boy, could have been a girl, right? Married who you married, blonde, brunette, blah, blah, job and all that. But once again, how many options are there actually, to the point that we would end up being similar in many journeys? So you've been doing shows for years. How many times have you said something in your life and the audience is like, yeah, me too? They've gone down that path with you. So I don't know. But once again, I like to see that as life's mysteries that make it not so boring.
Absolutely. Okay, well, here's what we'll do. We're going to take a moment here to play what you sent me, and then we're going to see what's going on with methods for the next for what's coming up next for you, and how people can find you if they haven't heard from you in a while. And then we go from there. I appreciate the time that you have. Now, this is, do you know what year this was, since it's one of your favorite clips?
I have no idea. I just know that it's lived through like 3 different laptops of me making sure I saved it.
Okay.
I can't remember.
All right. So here, it's me and Matt, and this is the D Live story of what I had sent to D Live. And you're right. I just saw this yesterday while I was cleaning everything out, and it's a good one. Here, take a listen to this. I'm going to email this to myself so I can download it at the studio, and I can put it into the rotation, and I can drop it in whenever the hell I just want to laugh a little bit. Okay, so there's a little bit more before this. The thing I wanted to email to myself was a piece of...
Oh, you explain it.
Yeah,
you explain what it is.
It's a piece of media. Matt, at this point, of course, you know, he was sending voice notes to all of us throughout the day in group text and shit. He's driving around. He's making funny voice notes. He's sending it to us, and some of them are just so classic. I have them in a folder over here. So, like anything else, whether it be media, a tweet, you know, of an article or something, I'm constantly sending thoughts and links to myself to add it into the notes for that night or any other night that I have on the schedule. And in this particular case, it was one of Matt's famous voice notes. And what I did was I dropped it into a email on my phone as an attachment, and I very hastily sent it to what I thought was going to be myself. And here you go. I'm going to email this to myself so I can download it at the studio, and I can put it into the rotation, and I can drop it in whenever the hell I just want to laugh a little bit. I quickly, because I'm so used to sending things quickly to myself through email, that I attached it to an email, and I went to press F and then press send, because I go F and there I am, and I press send. Instead, I pressed the D right next to the F, and I immediately press send. And I sent this right here.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I'm gonna come.
I sent that to D Live support. I sent that to the support line of D Live that I'm always talking to. And I had to immediately, I went, no! I'm in the kitchen. Lauren went, what? What happened? Lauren said, what happened? I said, no. So I sent I immediately sent them another email.
I'm like, please. They think that it's you.
They probably did. You know, methods, they never got back to me. I don't
makes
think
it better. That makes it better, actually. Weirder, even.
It did, because you know that was one of those emails. D Live accepted all types of attachments because they often required screenshots of what was going on, especially if you had a problem with the service or something like that, and they never got back to me after that. So I'm sure they saw the apology, but somebody must have listened to that, and I'm so happy that people like you have archived things like that. Those are the really special moments of this show over the years.
We spend a lot of time archiving things in history because they try to rewrite it in real time. I'm making sure that the things that really matter make it to the future generation. So you're welcome.
That's it. All right. Well, Methods, Words and Stuff, the host of Words and Stuff. How often are you streaming live? Where can people find you? And yeah, give us the goods.
I appreciate that, man. And once again, thanks for the invite. That was a pleasant surprise of a DM to get, so I appreciate that. As far as Words and Stuff go, that is the name of the stream that I do as a variety show where we get into a whole bunch of topics. We try to, we read devotions, we listen to sermons, we do deep dives into personal topics in general. Sometimes I do video games because I'm an adult man-child, but overall it is called Words and Stuff that we do typically Tuesdays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern. That goes anywhere from 3 to 5, 6 hours. So basically, if you're looking to keep up with what I'm doing, follow Methods, that's M3thods over on Rumble, as well as Pilled. And those 4 days a week. If not, just subscribe, keep up to it. Come say hi in the chat. It's a very chat-heavy show. We have very deep discussions, and the next thing we know, the time melts away like it has tonight. But outside of that, I am also a weekly co-host now. I don't know if you know this, Frank, of Deplorable Discussions with Adel. I'm now on Fridays with him. So every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm on the 412 Productions channel for that show. But outside of that, I'm just living life and enjoying it, and I always enjoy crossing paths with people.
That's wonderful. I did not know that you and Adel were doing that, but it's I'll have to check it out. It's hard for me to check a lot of extra things out stream wise, especially during the week whenever I'm preparing over here. But thankfully, there's always a lot of clip sharing, and we all know the same people, so it's just good to know that where everybody is, what they're doing, and if I got to find you, I know where you are. That's good.
Anytime, man. My DM is always open to you.
Well, dude, have a good time. It's great to have you back, and it was wonderful to have you as a co-host tonight. Thank you for helping me bring this format to life.
Sure thing, brother. Y'all have a good night. Much love.
All right, take it easy. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. It is Methods. So you guys can call in now, 914-200-0269. You give me your crazy glitch stories, glitch in the Matrix stories, and that's what we'll be doing. I have a little bit more from you guys and gal. There's one more, and unfortunately, we had 2 glitches with the voicemail. Maybe I have to expand it beyond a minute and a half, but that's not that wouldn't explain what happened to Katie's. That went silent around 30 seconds in, and there was about a minute left. So I don't get it. The Laura Buckton thing, tell me how that happens. Go ahead, tell me how that happens. That would be that'd be wonderful to get an explanation on that one. 914-200-0269. Here's another one for you. I sold a dress to a thrift shop in NYC in 2012. The back was altered with lace that got discolored. In 2016, I'm in a hip-hop boot camp in Houston. And I meet this girl that I became day besties with. Last year, 2024, she's in a bathroom line in Cancun, 2 in front of me, in my dress. I mean, that's incredible. Hello, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Frank, how you doing? Chris in the Berkshires.
Good to hear from you again.
Always good to talk. Always. Methods is an awesome dude. I love listening to that guy. I've fought him a bunch of times on Adel. Whenever I can, I try to listen to his show. So I'll say thank you to him for coming on. But so my strange story is this, and it wasn't even me, but it was in high school, and it was 2001, and it was probably October, end of October, early November maybe. And I'm sitting in study hall, and we had the same assigned seats, right, for whatever. And there was a girl that sat in front of me. She ended up completely not relevant to the story. She ended up being a cousin, married into the family, whatever. Girl sitting in front of me, and it was a couple months after 9/11. And she comes in one day. She was a senior at the time, and I was a freshman, I think, or a sophomore. I think I was a freshman. And whatever, we would always talk every day, whatever, either regardless. she comes in one day and it's like I said, end October, November, and she is just kind of like, you can tell she's off, like she's disheveled. And I'm like, so finally study hall comes around, sitting there, we're all talking to everybody, you talk to everybody around you. She turns around and she hands me this piece of paper and she goes, I lost this the day I got it in the mail, and I never opened it until yesterday. And she had applied for a college in New York City, and they were doing like a orientation style thing on 9/11 at 8:30 in one of the towers.
Wow.
And I never opened this. I lost it and found it yesterday. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it was one of the eeriest things. We're all just sitting there reading this, like, what the fuck, So I don't know if it's a glitch in the matrix or what it was, or just her getting lucky that she misplaced it. But yeah, that was one of those like really eerie, times in my history that that's almost like a deer scene, where everything just kind of stood still. And as you read, you're invited 8:30, 9/11, World Trade Center building, whatever, on this floor. And I was like, fuck.
And talk about a lottery. Talk about the lottery. That's no, I'll accept that one, man. We're talking about highly improbable things. And that is that'll go down. Dude, that should definitely be counted if you're in my book. How's everything else been with you? All right?
Dude, things are good, man. I can't complain. It's finally getting some warmer weather, and it's hopefully, I know I'm not too far from you, so it feels like the last 2 weeks have been like day 171 of January, but finally getting some warm weather. So we're getting there, but everything else is good, and listening whenever I can. So I'm just going to keep saying I love watching the show, and hello to everyone in the chat,
Well, thank you, Chris. It's good to hear from you again. Hope all's well.
Thank you, sir. You do the same. Have a great night.
Okay. Thank you. It's good to get get some calls in tonight too. 914-200-0269. I could have gone to 2 more voicemails, but obviously I got to figure that one out. All right. Here's another one from Pax. It says, Stephanie used to be the fake name I would give to guys who wouldn't leave me alone until I responded to them talking to me. And every time people would be like, you look like a Stephanie. However, I had to go to urgent care. I gave my date of birth and my last name, and they were like, Stephanie? And I was like, no, it's Melanie. And the nurse was just like, I went into Stephanie's profile, and not only was she born on the same day, she had the same last name as you, but she looks just like you. Same date of birth, same last name. I just know one day that we will bump into each other. Get the hell out of here. Now, I thought when I read that was going to be a situation where it was a male nurse and it was somebody that she had, tried to put some distance in between them at a bar a few years before and gave them a name, and he just hadn't stopped thinking about her since. But the fact that you have this uninvolved nurse that did not try to date her at one point, that just totally, this is a Stephanie that I know. Incredible. Well, add that one to the list. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, I just
So what's your name and where you're from? All right, you got to stop paying attention to the stream and listen to me. Okay. We'll do that some other time. All right, here we go. 806, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Razel in Lubbock.
Hello, how are you? Good to, and just mute the show in the background and go right ahead.
Okay. I was working overseas, and I'm originally from Houston, and on my R&R, I went to Venice, Italy, and it was a Friday night, and I walked into the shul in Venice, and there was a girl from my synagogue in Houston, and we both looked at each other, our mouths dropped, and then the whole rest of the time and that I was there, we hung out with each other. It was pretty cool.
I'm every time I hear a story tonight, I'm trying to think, have I had anything like that happen to me? And if it had, I can't envision me in losing it because it would just be too much of a, well, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Unless I'm just, I don't know, it's repressed for some reason, but that's pretty cool. And where are you living now? You're in the same area?
No, I'm in Texas. I'm in Lubbock now.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, thank you for
I'm the one that had that violin that we thought was something special. I mean, it's still a very rare, and it's still over 150 years old, but it wasn't what we thought it was.
I remember that night.
There was a fake label in it, but when I took it to get it repaired, then they told me about it. I tried to play it. I would be too embarrassed to ever play it. I'm looking for someone that can play it, and then I will record it and send it to you.
But wait a second, didn't you run the bow across the strings for us?
I might have.
Yeah, you definitely let us hear it. You didn't try to play anything, but you ran the bow across the strings, no doubt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has such a beautiful tone.
Okay.
So, but I will try to find somebody that can play it.
I would love to hear it.
A recording.
Whether it's an original piece from a well-known creator or not, it's still that night was pretty cool because we were listening to a 120-something, 40-something-year-old musical instrument sing for the first time in God knows how long. 630, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. This is Robert Johnson.
Hey, Robert. How are you?
Good. You started playing my message I left for you, and it got cut off at the punchline.
Yeah, give me the punchline. Thank you for calling in.
Well, I have to give a little bit of background. It'll be quick, but you do need a little. I need about 2 minutes to give you a minute and a half.
Robert, do me a favor. Do me a favor and do it with the speakerphone off.
Oh, just a second.
Okay.
I'm wearing a headset, so
yeah, those never work out well.
Just a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. So put it in a nutshell for us.
In a nutshell, this was in 2005, and this is when you had to dial 1 to make a long-distance phone call. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. If you didn't dial 1, it went to a local call. So anyway, my sister was at home, and her phone rang, and it was she picked it up, wrong number, but she got to talking to this guy because that's my sister, and she looked at her caller ID, and it said Delmore Hospital on it. She goes, "You called from the hospital?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, I just had brain surgery yesterday, and I'm trying to get a hold of my wife." And my sister goes, "That's crazy. What room are you in?" Because I'm in 14. She goes, "Well, my dad's in the room right next to you."
Wow.
And
yeah.
The thing is, he was calling his wife in Wisconsin. We're in Illinois, but their area code for Wisconsin was the prefix for the local town. It ended up being my sister's phone number that added up to. They got to talking. She found out this guy was a corrugated box salesman. She told him she couldn't believe it. That's what my father was, a corrugated box salesman. And they're sitting in the rooms right next to each other.
You see, this has shades of the Buxton story over there too. Or it's one thing to say, "Hey, I'm going to put a message in a bottle and see if anybody writes back to me in a few years." But it's another thing that when you have these striking similarities of whoever does get the message, whether it be random or something else, the proximity of the people and also the proximity of what they did in life. I mean, these are things that just are so spooky in a way, but curious all around.
Yeah, it was the odds of those things adding up. The fact that he actually called my sister when he's trying to call out of state.
Well, I again, thank you for calling in and putting a conclusion on that, because that would have been, that's a dud right there. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Take
care.
All
right, there you go. It would have been a dud, and now it's not. Now we know what happened. All right, Hot Legs, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you doing, Frank?
I'm all right. Would you have a good Easter?
I had a really nice Easter, but I had to work a lot, so that was not so nice. But I have an interesting Matrix story for you.
Okay.
This is, gosh, I don't know, it's probably 20 years ago or something. I have an obstetrician gynecologist, same guy. He told me he was going to be going to the Caribbean or something for spring break. So we went to Virgin Gorda for spring break, my son and I, and went to our favorite resort. And actually, he was laying on the beach there. This was the guy who delivered my son. So I didn't know it was going to be the same exact day. But so we had lunch together. That was really weird. Down on the beach, and we hear this, "Hey, X," my son's name. And I turned around, and it was a kid from his class who was getting off of a sailboat on the same island as we were in the Caribbean. So that was a day that was just so kind of mind-blowing.
It's almost like you went down to the local pier or something like that, and not too far away.
So we just kind of had to take it that way. Otherwise, it would have been just too weird.
Wow, that's something else. But I appreciate the call, and I wish I was on a boat somewhere.
Great show. Take care.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's go to Matthew. What's going on, Matthew?
Oh, this is Delona.
Oh, Delona, how are you? Go ahead.
I'm good. Senior year of high school, in the fall, they sent us all out onto the bleachers to take a picture, and it took months for us to get the picture back. And at the beginning of the second semester, I changed my schedule around. And one of my friends was like, "There's a guy that wants to meet you." And I said, "I don't know who this is." And it ended up, it's my husband. And he's now my husband. But when we pulled open the picture, he was sitting right behind me over my right shoulder on the senior class picture.
Wow. But at the time of the picture was taken, you didn't know him yet?
No, because he had just moved to our hometown, my hometown.
Okay.
Junior year, halfway through junior year. So, I knew all 435 kids that were out on those bleachers, pretty much except him.
That's something. You see, that it's not quite like one of those stories of looking through old photos from your childhood and seeing in the background or somewhere in the shot is a future love or your husband or your wife in the background as a child, even though you didn't know each other back then, but you were at the same time in the same place and it's all captured on film. It's not exactly like that because it's a shorter, it's a lot more, it's high school already, but still.
Oh yeah, but I had no clue who he was, and everyone's like, I remember seeing him and going, "Oh, who's that?" But it was like we were looking all over the picture for him, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, he's sitting right next to me."
That's something else. That's something.
And then one other quick story. I went on a bus trip to New York. We're walking around downtown. We're going to the Rockettes around Christmas, and we're walking down the street, and I see this guy I used to work with from 15 years previous, and it was just like, oh my gosh! And he looked at me, and we looked at each other, and the crowds pushed us by, and never saw him again. It was so bizarre.
Again, there's all these brush ups with people, and like I said, with your class picture, it's one thing to say, "Whoa, holy shit, he was sitting right behind me. We hadn't known each other yet. He was just a new guy still." And then to take that back with people who can say, "Well, this was me at Chuck E. Cheese when I was 5, and there's my wife in the background. I wouldn't have known for 18 more years or something like that." It's all the same. It's all the same to varying degrees, and I think it's wonderful. I wish I had a couple of things like that happen to me. But for tonight, once again, I'm collecting everybody else's stories. So thank you for calling in.
Hey, have a good night, Frank.
Have a good one. Take it easy. All right, let's see. 803, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, Frank. It's Gina.
Hey, Gina.
From South Carolina.
Good. Oh, good to have you on.
Hey.
I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I have a really cool story. I moved to South Carolina in Fort Mill in 2018 to go to ministry school, and it was kind of focused on music and songwriting and that kind of thing. And So, and also vocal lessons. So I'm sitting in class one day, and there's only like 5 of us in the class, and the instructor was introducing herself, and she was asking us to tell when we, started singing, how we got into music. And she was explaining her story, and she was saying that her grandmother was one of the most prolific gospel singer-songwriters. And it didn't really, I guess, hit me until we got around, and I was going to tell her, well, I started singing when I was very young, and I would play the record of what ended up being her mother. 50 years ago, I started singing to those records, and that's basically how I learned to sing. After we kind of went around the circle, I didn't tell her that it was Reba Rambo, and it ended up being her mother, and my mouth fell to the floor when I asked her. I was like, is Reba Rambo your mother? And she said, yeah. So I don't know, somehow 50 years prior, her mother was actually teaching me how to sing, but I was sitting in the class with her as my voice teacher. It was just a super cool connection.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And it certainly makes the cut tonight. I love that. That's great. Thank you so much for that story.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right,
Thanks, Frank. Love
Gina, have a good one. Have a good one down there. Down in South Carolina, I have to imagine it's already summertime. Must be in the 80s already. Has to be. If we're starting to flirt with the upper 60s and 70s, it's got to be in the 80s. It's coming our way. All right, let's see. Here's one that I actually found, and I dropped into the thread on quitefrankly.tv about tonight's topic. I saw this recently on Instagram. Now, it's a baseball highlight. Take a look at this. Glitch in the Matrix just happened, someone said. They tweeted it out, a guy named Parker Doyle. So here's what you're going to see. It's a split screen, and here is the caption. In a AA game, that's a minor league game, featuring the Portland Sea Dogs, that is a Boston Red Sox affiliate, and Hartford Yard Goats, Colorado Rockies, something very rare happened. The same exact sequence of events during a singular inning. In the top of the 4th inning, with 1 out, Portland's Abraham Leando hits what would normally be a routine grounder to the third baseman, only for it to ricochet off the fielder to the shortstop, who guns down the runner for out number 2. Subsequently, in the bottom half of the inning, of the same inning, with the exact same count, with the exact same numbers of outs, pitch speed, and the uncanny statures of both pitchers and hitters, Hartford's Dean George, or Jorge, hits a routine grounder to Portland's third baseman that ricochets off the shortstop, who throws out Jorge at first. This feat is remarkable at so many levels, and it is definitely a rare sight to see. Take a look at this. It's this. One more time. We gotta see it again. And again, we're talking pitch speed, 83 miles an hour, both of them. On the left, it's the top of the 4th. It's an 0-1 count. On the right, it's the bottom of the 4th. It's an 0-1 count. 83 mile an hour, I don't know, change up, something like that. It's 3-3. I mean, that's nuts. That's nuts. And thankfully, while I was doom scrolling for a few minutes before going to bed, this popped up. I said, oh, perfect. Didn't know exactly when we were going to do this topic. Krista was helping pull all these extra things together for it, and she pretty much started the topic rolling for this tonight. And I didn't know where we were going to put it. And turns out tonight was a perfect time. And this was the perfect reel, because that's like scientific. We're talking about miles per hour. Everything Just nuts. Okay, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good time. And that's it for me. We're going to get off a couple minutes early. I will see you tomorrow night. We got a great guest. Eric Hunley is going to be on the show. I will look into what's going on with some of this, with some of the voicemails. There's a lot of great news to get around to as well. There is a little bit of, we were talking about the needle in the haystack situation with Jim Lee and geoengineering the other day. Well, there is a needle in the haystack headline that has come out from the UK today that a lot of people are paying attention to. Maybe I can get Jim to call in for the last 10 minutes of tomorrow night's show, which is Thursday, which means that we're also going to be syndicated on Badlands. So there should be a couple extra eyes on that. But thank you all for being on with us tonight. Nina Rock says, Frank, you can do a show about those who didn't go to the Twin Towers that morning. Very freaky. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, September is not too far away. Not too far away. I can, that's a thread that I would have to be building at least 2 months out and consistently get it out there to try to, all you need is like a half a dozen really good stories on that one to make it run. And there you go. Thank you so much, Jay Britz. Thank you to all of our people that are hanging out over there on Rumble. You guys have been great. Thank you to Methods for hanging out with us. And tomorrow is another day. I appreciate you all. And have a good one, my friends. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.